Hey everybody, welcome to metaphysicalcupofcoffee.com Metaphysical Cup of Coffee YouTube channel. I used to have a website. I don't even know if it's still up right now, but it was called metaphysicalcupofcoffee.com. But my name's Gavin Tedder, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about basically my story of me becoming awake and the understanding that I've gained since then. Well, started trying to, come awake, be aware of things probably in like 2012, 2013 is probably when I first started looking at what you would call like alternative, spiritual things and everything else. It was right when I basically graduated high school. I believe it was around like 2000, 13 or 14, for the very first time, I saw something that, I'd never seen before, experienced something I never experienced, and it was through binaural beats, actually. I couldn't tell you what frequency it was or anything. It's been so long since then, but I was listening to these binaural beats sitting in my bed, just relaxing and breathing. I didn't know anything about meditations or anything like that, so I was just, listening, trying to just relax, sit still. Ended up, my body felt super light, super light, like it wasn't there. And all of a sudden, with my eyes closed, I just started seeing what looked like just blue lightning just striking everywhere in front of my face, Not like a huge storm, but it would just be, just directly in front of me. And whenever I experienced that, I was like, okay, there's something going on here, something that I don't know about, that probably a lot of people don't know about. I don't know what it is. And I grew up with a pretty religious background. Growing up, going to church. My grandpa was, he's passed now, but he was a pastor of a church that he started up until his last days. He was a preacher there and everything. He was a really, really good man. But I fell away from religion a long time ago, way before I even started looking into alternative spiritual things, trying to just figure things out for myself. I just knew that there was something wrong with the religion, the whole religion scene and everything, and things didn't feel right. I couldn't tell you why, but to me, things didn't feel right, so I was just looking around trying to figure things out for myself. Around, I think like 2014, I think it was, I'm pretty sure that's the first time I started seeing videos on YouTube of Jay Essex. Now, I think at that moment it was a different channel, but now he has a YouTube channel with videos up under the YouTube channel J Era Essex. And I would definitely encourage anybody who's curious to go and look at those videos and try and, see some stuff, and you'll definitely learn some things. And there's going to be some crazy things on those videos that you're going to question for sure. Any normal person would definitely question it, but if you just give them a little bit of a listen, the longer you listen to them especially, you're going to start thinking like maybe there's something to these things. And in these videos that I was watching at the time, he was talking about, feeling your own energy and feeling stone energy. And one time I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. And I, followed the instructions on the videos to, feel my own energy, which is real easy. You just take a few relaxing breaths, just like I did, just we're not breathing in like super hard or exhaling super hard. You just breathe in and just allow your lungs to just deflate and the air come out naturally. And once you do that and you get relaxed, you can just take your hands and stick them up over your head. And here, I'll try to actually get where you guys can see this good. You get your hands up over your head, and then you just slowly bring your hands up with your palms pointing in like this, and you just slowly bring your hands closer and closer to the top of your head until you'll start feeling something. And most likely you're going to be starting to feel like a heat, a tingle, or maybe you'll just know you feel something, but you're just not sure what it is, because it's a really weird experience, and it's a strange experience, especially for the very first time when you're doing it. But whenever you start feeling what you're feeling, literally like on the palm of your hands, on the surface of your hands, that's you. That's you. That's your spirit. That is you, in like what is in this body driving me, and you feeling that, or driving yourself rather, and you're feeling that. That's you, who you really are. And whenever I felt that for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, so this guy definitely knows some things that I definitely don't know, and things I've never heard before. And then he started talking. I saw a video where he's talking about stone energy and, feeling different stones and everything, which everybody, for many years, I've heard, stones have energy and everything else, and there's all kinds of books and that are, got all kinds of wild shit in it and everything else. But, he explains it, and he explains it in a very comprehensive way, and, he teaches you how to feel stone energy, and so I gave that a shot, and whenever I did give it a shot, most definitely I started feeling stones. I could feel them. I could feel the difference in this kind and this kind of stone. I could feel it in different areas of my body and everything. I was like, oh, okay, so this guy definitely has some knowledge that a lot of people probably don't have. And the thing is that like everything that he would put out, he would be like, hey, look, you could be like this, you might feel it slightly like this, everybody's a little different, feeling things different ways and everything. And he explains orientation of your core and your energy chakras, and your primary chakras. He explains those. And so I just got more and more into it and everything else. And I came across a video of his one time where he's like, hey, I'm doing consults, they're a little bit expensive, but what I'm offering is something that you're not going to receive anywhere else. And I was like, you know what, for whatever reason, I trust this, and I want to give this a shot. So I did. And the very first time I ever had a consult with Jay, as soon as he popped up on the screen on Skype, it was a Skype call for the consult. With energy work included, but you're paying for the consult. And as soon as he popped up on the screen, I'll never forget the greeting he gave me. He just had a huge old smile on his face instantly and just started laughing and, hey, how you doing? I couldn't explain it, but he just made me feel extremely comfortable, and I just felt like I knew him, and, it was super strange to me, and like I was almost kind of speechless and didn't know what to say, so I just kind of let him talk and give me information and do his thing. And he gave me what he called a crank up, which is where he releases your energy and allows your energy to flow better through your body, where you can use your metaphysical abilities more easily. And sure enough, after it was all said and done and everything, I most definitely could feel stones better. I could start using my pineal to see things. I could start remote viewing easier. I could feel things with my heart, and start feeling things with my gut intuition more. And during that consult, he was like, hey, just so you know, there's a group of people who like to get together on Sundays, and they call it Sunday Fun Day. Get on there with them. And he gave me the names of these individuals and was like, get a hold of somebody and ask if you can join them, and I'm sure they'll let you get on and have fun. So I gave that a shot. And it ended up being great. I ended up enjoying it so much, and we had all kinds of fun together, and we were getting on like religiously, every Sunday basically, hopping on, saying hey to everybody, checking in, and just using our abilities and practicing and everything else. And it was a blast for everybody. It was great, absolutely great. And it got to the point where we were doing it more and more often, instead of Sunday Fun Day, it became, Saturday and Sunday, and then it became, like like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and it got to where I was like, just conversating with these people, all the time, and, keeping in touch with them, and, practicing with them, and us helping each other out by looking at, things for each other and everything else. And it was great. It was just absolutely amazing. I had so much fun doing it and everything else. And I need to backpedal just a little bit. Whenever I had my consult with Jay, he had told me, which I didn't completely understand exactly everything it meant, but he had told me while I was in this consult, he was like, hey, just so you know, your source soul, source type soul, or spirit rather. And he just, all I knew at that time, whenever he was explaining it to me, that type of spirit, there wasn't that many of them in existence in comparison to all the other different types of spirit that are out there, and all the other different types of spirit that are, in bodies having lives right now currently, and everything else. And he just said, the source can have problems and they can be very problematic, but just try to relax and keep waking up and be yourself, and you'll be all right. It's pretty much the kind of advice he gave me. He was like, just keep on going. And I'm here to tell you, like, source does have problems, and everybody has problems. Do not get me wrong. Source isn't special in having problems. Everybody living lives on this planet, everybody gets problems and has problems, but I know for sure that just because somebody says your source and it's kind of like a rare, type of spirit to be, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're like much more special than anybody, or anything like that. Not at all. It's just you are what you are, and that's what it is. But while I was skipping back into what I was talking about, I was practicing with these people, all these amazing, just wonderful people all the time, and it was so much fun, and I was having so much fun doing it. And my abilities would just get stronger and stronger and stronger, where I could see more, I could do more. I started getting to where I could have short stints of actual telepathy, telepathic is what I should say, telepathic communication with ETs, with people from other planets who were either on ships or here on Earth in basically underground compounds, bases, like underground, and that are secret and have been secret for a long time. And once I started actually seeing those things, a lot of the things in Jay's videos that he would put out, because he does on that YouTube channel talk a decent amount about our friends from other planets and everything, I realized all that was for sure real. And while I was practicing with other people and like seeing these things, like I would maybe see something, or somebody else would see something and be like, hey, I'm looking at this is what I'm seeing, I'm pretty sure this is what it is, will you help me and look and verify, is this what you're seeing too? And it would always be like, not necessarily the exact same thing, but it would be something that was extremely, extremely similar to everything that, it'd be like parts of a picture where like you're putting like, okay, I'm seeing this, okay, I'm getting this, okay, yeah, I'm like, feeling that, too, kind of deal. And like you come together using your abilities with other people, and you put the picture together, and that's one of the ways you can know that, oh, okay, what I'm seeing is real. There's no way that you have 4 different people looking at this and they're all getting generally the same picture of what's going on here. There's no way that's gonna happen unless like it's real. Even there would be times where it would be like, look at something, see it, you get the picture, you're seeing something, and then you just ask them without telling them, hey, before you even say, this is what I'm feeling or this is what I'm getting, you just be like, hey, what are you getting out of this? And then they say it, and they, you know, reconfirm exactly what you were feeling or what you were seeing. Oh, okay, so that is right. That is proper, whatever. And I just got stronger and stronger and stronger and was able to use my abilities more and more. And I got to the point to where I started to do some little consults and, trying to do some little energy work, some free energy work for people and everything else. And when I started doing some of the consults, I started working with a couple of the individuals that I'd been practicing with for a while, and trying to get things set up and work with them and everything. And it turned out there was another gentleman. Honestly, I don't remember his name, and even if I did, I wouldn't say it. But there was a gentleman who had a YouTube channel, maybe he still does, who is practicing and trying to work on using his metaphysical abilities. And whenever he was trying to use his metaphysical abilities, he had known about the people that I was practicing with and me and everything else. And this was kind of like the start of a little bit of a storm altogether, like this and some other personal things. I had a best friend that I'd been best friends with him since middle school, and right about this time of my life, he had passed, and I took it really, really hard. I took it extremely hard. And it was tough. It was rough. Being able to use my abilities, I'd, contacted my buddy who had passed a couple times, just to, say hey, and he'd pop in every once in a while and say hey to me. But eventually, he went on and did his thing on the other side, and, that was that. But along with dealing with that, this gentleman that I'm talking about, he had gotten on, and he was being ran by spirit on the other side, that was basically kind of making him make a couple videos, or I don't remember how many videos. It might have been one, might have been two, I'm not 100% sure, commenting directly at me, basically saying, hey, you're arrogant and you're acting arrogant and you know it, so you need to chill out. Otherwise, basically, he was going to do something about it. Not saying it was like a physical threat of violence or anything like that, but he was just talking like spiritually. And whenever that had happened, I didn't feel like I was being arrogant or feeling like I was better than anybody else or anything, but I did have pride in myself at how strong that I had gotten, and also learning through some of Jay's videos on YouTube. He had taught me and a lot of other people who actually watch those videos to protect themselves from spirit and how to fight back if you're being attacked, how to recognize it, how to protect yourself and fight back. Because what are you going to do if somebody is walking up and they're hitting you in the back of the head? Like, you have to defend yourself, you have to protect yourself. And once I learned that I could do that, I'm not saying I would try to pick fights with spirit or anything, but I was very, very quick to try and defend myself and attack them back if I felt that I was being attacked. So maybe that part of it, me not being just 100%, I guess, confident and trusting myself, it put distrust in me. Between that and the things that I was going on in my personal life, it made me kind of distrust myself a little bit. And on top of that, whenever my best friend, whenever he had passed, he had died from liver and kidney failure, just because he was very, very hardcore into substances and alcohol, especially alcohol, that just caused his body to fail at a very young age. And whenever he did pass, and I took it really hard, I actually started drinking very, very heavily all the time. Not to the point to where like I'm like, getting fired from my job, but literally still drinking like every single day, just about. And it was that way for a while. And even after it wasn't necessarily after a while, and it wasn't even necessarily me drinking every single day. I still did it extremely often, multiple times a week, you know, being very irresponsible with my body. And when you drink, it doesn't necessarily dampen down your metaphysical abilities, but it does mess with your emotions. And whenever your emotions are messed with and you're trying to practice and relax and see things, it can make you feel like you distrust yourself even more, where you're not 100% sure, that you're, doing something that you really probably shouldn't be doing, and you have like a certain feeling of guilt to yourself. And that slowly grew and morphed into more and more, like, over time. Because at first it wasn't like a huge deal that affected me like extremely hard and affected my abilities real hard. I still continued to practice. I still, could use my abilities and everything. But over time, it eventually got to a point to where I would stop practicing, and I would start to distrust myself on what I was seeing when I was trying to look for people and do consults. And that, this was some time down the road after this had happened. I was working with a couple of the people. They had their own website that they had made, and they were giving consults, and I started working with them, giving consults and doing stuff. And at first, everything was good and everything was working out. But as I distrusted myself more and more and more over time, it got to where I was, thinking, oh, okay, I got this, whatever, and not only distrusting some of the things that I was seeing, but not also practicing like I should have been. So it eventually led to the point of where, like, they didn't, like, kick me out in a way to where it was like, hey, like, sorry, you gotta go kind of deal, but they did it in a very soft way, like, hey, what are you feeling? They talked to me about it. They were, extremely insightful on the subject, and I didn't even realize it myself too much at the time. But whenever it did, I did realize it, and they suggested, like, hey, maybe you should take some time to yourself to try and, get back on the right track and, put this down for a little while. And I should have. It was the right call, because I wasn't practicing and I was doing consults with people, and I wasn't giving it everything that I should have been giving it. And it became a little bit of an issue. Like, I'd still see stuff and still give stuff to people, but it got to where I would give a little bit less information and a little bit less information, a little less, like, as I was doing consults. And that's not right. That's not right for customers and everybody else who's paying for a consult, and you're telling them, I'm going to give you this, but you're not giving all the effort that you should be getting. That's not right. So rightfully so, they kind of softly, in a soft way, told me, like, hey, you should, get this figured out and step away from this for a while. And I did. And I stepped away, and whenever I stepped away, honestly, it made me feel bad. I realized what I was doing, and I distrusted myself even more and thought that, I shouldn't be worthy of, using my abilities to try and help people, because I was being basically a piece of shit and not being responsible and giving it the all that I should have been giving it, not giving my abilities and myself the attention that I should have been giving it. And whenever you start to distrust yourself, that's your worst enemy. Whenever it comes to coming alive and realizing who you actually are as spirit in the body and using your metaphysical abilities, like, you have to be able to trust yourself, most definitely. And from there, honestly, I wasn't having, like, physical issues or anything, but I still continued to drink a bunch, just a bunch, all the time when I was off. And even, like, whenever I would come home from work, as soon as I get off of work from third shift, I'd come home, or go to the gas station and buy some beer and, go home and drink a 6-pack and just pass out, fall asleep, wake up, hang out a little bit, maybe go possibly work out, and then maybe have a couple beers like earlier into the evening, and then go to work and, just do that over and over and over. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for my health. It wasn't good for my emotions. And then I started getting into a little bit, after that, started getting into smoking a little bit. And smoking weed, obviously. And whenever I started getting into smoking weed, I just did it a little bit here and there, but I would still drink a decent amount and pretty often. And I wasn't practicing at all. I wasn't, filling stones. I wasn't using, rune cards to try and communicate with my spirit guides, even though they were always constantly trying to, be like, hey, look at this or look at that, point stuff out at me. Like, I knew they were, but I didn't want to put the time into it. I just didn't want to put the time into it because I just felt bad about what I'd, been doing, the state I was in, and then, just a bunch of kind of self-loathing and mistrust in myself and everything. And it took me down a path where I just wasn't practicing. I wasn't being a metaphysical practitioner anymore, and I wasn't using my abilities. And if I had been, it would have definitely gotten me out of a couple situations. I'm absolutely positive my spirit guides tried to tell me and warn me of some things that I just kind of ignored, and it made things harder on me. And eventually it got to where I had drank so much for so long, so many years, it got to the point to where my liver would start to kind of hurt. And it was that bad. It was that bad. I was drinking that much and that often to where, it wasn't like a horrible pain. It was like I could just feel my liver. It was like, oh no, what the heck's going on here? And I didn't realize I was too dumb and wanted to do, what I wanted to do too much to worry about it enough, And it finally got to the point to where my liver was hurting on a normal basis for days at a time. And I was like, oh, okay, I have to change. Something has to change here. I gotta stop. I gotta, I felt my health just taking a dip, basically. And, it was real bad, real horrible. And like I said, so many problems. Everybody's got so many issues and problems and living lives and here on earth and, in these bodies that we're in and everything. And I just made it harder on myself. That's all I did, was make it harder on myself. Because I definitely could have made it easier on myself if I'd been, communicating with my spirit guides, been practicing, seeing things for myself and gaining more understanding. But I didn't. I just kind of cut all that off for a long time. Sorry, let me get a drink. Just water. But I finally was like, okay, well, I'm smoking a little bit. How about I just, cut out a lot of drinking that I'm doing? Maybe still drink here and there a little bit, but, cut out the majority of it and just, smoke. Just do that. And I started doing that. And the thing is that whenever you smoke and you smoke a lot, it dumbs down your abilities. It gunks everything up to where you can't, do everything well. If you smoke, you might have if you can use your abilities well, and then you smoke, there might be a day or two where it's a little bit harder to use your abilities. You know what I mean? It's a little harder to see things, make things out, and move that energy through your body, your brains, your organs, your glands, everything else, to use your abilities. But the thing is that I got to where I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to replace my drinking habit that I have with smoking. And I did. And it got to where I literally was smoking every day, pretty much. Smoking multiple times a day, literally for over the span of, a year or two, basically. It was just horrible for me, and I couldn't use my abilities anymore at that point. So even like whenever I would every once in a while sit down and try to relax and feel stoned and try to do a little bit of communication, it was like super 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 extremely hard to do. So, and I would try to pick it up for a little bit, and I'm back, oh, okay, well, this is a waste of time because it's so hard. But I wasn't willing to give up smoking because of just the things that were going on in my life and the things that I was dealing with emotionally and everything else. And it got to the point to where I was still drinking every once in a while, but I eventually just cut the drinking out completely and was like, oh, okay, look, I could actually can seriously hurt myself. And at that time I was in a relationship with now my wife, and she has a son that is my son now. I consider him my son. And I was like, if I'm going to, take care of them, and be there for them, I got to change. So I cut the drinking out, pretty much absolutely completely. Since I had cut it out, I cut it out for a very, very long time. And since then, every once in a while, I will still, even now, very, 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 very rarely, but I will still now, have one or two drinks, pick up one scotch or a couple bourbons or something, and after that, done. Just because I wore my body out so much, even if I wanted to, I couldn't even drink more than that. Just drinking one or two drinks is good for me. I'm not hammered off of one or two drinks, but it gets me to a point where I'm like, you know what, I feel good, and I don't want to go any further, and I don't want to push my body any further because I already put it through so much damage. So, I will say I'm not an alcoholic. It's not like I take one little sip and I'm like, oh, and I can't stop, and I can't stop for days or anything. I have control over that now. But still, whenever you're, literally slowly poisoning yourself and killing your body, that's no good. So I definitely stay away from those things so much more as far as drinking. And I did for a while. But like I said, at that time, after I decided to stop drinking, I just started picking up smoking, and just replaced it. And, it wasn't harming my body as much, but, I couldn't use my metaphysical abilities at all. None at all whatsoever. And it wasn't until very recently that I was like, okay, well, I'm starting to feel my body the effects of smoking so much for so long, and everything. I need to definitely cut back on smoking at least. And it got to the point where I was looking. Every once in a while, I would cough, and I would always hack stuff up. I don't know why, but ever since I've been a kid, any drainage that I ever have, or when I'm sick or snotty or, dealing with allergies or something like that, I always hawk and spit it out. I don't like anything, lingering or dealing with it or nothing. I always hawk and spit it out. And I've done that ever since I was a kid for whatever reason. But whenever I was smoking a bunch, and after doing it for so long, I got to where I would hawk and spit, and it was I could see almost what looked like grayish stuff just in my spit when I would spit it out, hawk things up and spit it out, and just trying to get myself clear and spit it out. And I was like, what's going on there? That's weird. It's kind of strange. And after looking back on this is definitely more recently, looking back on some of Jay's YouTube videos and everything, he had talked about having a couple different. Oh no, I'm frozen. There we go. We're good. All right. I froze up there for a second, at least on my screen. Probably will on the video when it gets rendered too. But it got to the point to where I started seeing stuff when I would hawk things up, every once in a while, see a little bit of it was gray. That's the only way I can really describe it, a light little gray something in the stuff that I would hawk up and spit. And I ended up going through more semi-recently on Jay's YouTube videos, and he talked about having a like a lower, I can't remember the acronyms to him, but it was basically like his lungs were shot. They are shot. They had like upper and lower lung infections, like lung diseases, and he would talk about, hey, I'm sorry, because he would every once in a while, like, have to cough something up or hawk something up, and he would apologize on videos. And he had talked about, because of these lung diseases that I have, I'm hawking this like gray matter, basically, and whenever he said that, I realized, like, oh, like, I'm harming my body way more than what I realize. And I just didn't care, because all I wanted to do was, have opportunity to smoke and chill and just in what was my version of just relax and forget about everything else, block all the world out and just, sit and play games at my computer or my Xbox or, whatever I was doing at the time. At that time, it was definitely my computer. I was like, I'm really harming myself, and like, I need to quit. I need to stop completely. So I did. I stopped. I was like, it was kind of the same situation as with the drinking. It was like, I have a family. I have a family to take care of, and I have a family to worry about. Am I really going to let some habit that I just want to have get in the way of me being able to take care of them, potentially long term? Because if something happened and, things got really bad and I got sick and I passed or something, I'm not trying to leave my family with a bunch of medical bills, or anything like that. So I was like, I got to make a change. And I did. Completely stopped smoking. And I wanted to stop smoking actually for a long time before I did quit. But the thing is that like I said, smoking multiple times a day for literally every day for over probably like at the time of like a couple years, like that's a horrible habit that you just get into, like to the point to where I would like smoke and be like, I'm not smoking anymore. Like, I'm done. This is it. I'm not touching this anymore. And I wouldn't touch it the rest of the day. And I would go and, go to work, third shift, come home, go to sleep, wake up from sleeping, and literally just because I was so used to smoking every day, just go out and I would smoke. And I would smoke and realize, like, buddy, what are you doing? I would smoke and I would realize, like, I'm smoking. I literally just told myself I was done. And yet here I am doing it. And it was just like almost like an autopilot thing. You know what I mean? Like, horrible. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible, and horrible for me, and horrible for my health, and horrible for my abilities. Horrible for just all around horrible. And I've gotten that understanding and everything now, and especially since I've quit smoking, I feel like I've reflected on myself and my life a whole lot more. Just everything that's happened to me just over the past, even 10 years. Because more than 10 years is over the past 12, 13 years, really. Just my entire journey of me waking up and, like, where I was, like, how happy I was with who I was, using my abilities and being myself, to going completely downhill, like way farther than I would ever think that I would ever take myself. And it was all stemming from the start of self-doubt. Oh, hold on, I need to get this pupper back in here before he starts getting into something. Right there, yep, there he is. I called him back in here. I didn't have to even get up and go get him. I was just like, you shouldn't be getting into things. And called him back, and he came back, luckily. But back to what I was saying. Like, self-doubt whenever you are trying to come awake and be yourself and use your metaphysical abilities. I've gained the understanding it is your literal worst enemy, and you have to have trust in yourself. 1, 2, you need persistence to try to continue to wake up. Like, even though I was going through all those things, I remembered what it felt like whenever, what I would say the prime of my life. Like, I was in great shape. I was practicing my metaphysical abilities all the time. I was an emotionally sound person, and I was super happy with the person that I was and the way I acted and, the things I did. And life was, I mean, don't get me wrong, life was still hard. I wasn't making great money, still paying bills and, all the other things you go through, car troubles, whatever else, death in the family, things that people just go through on a normal basis. I was still dealing with those things, but I could deal with them way more easier, and I could understand them more easier, and, be able to get through them easier and help the other people who were around me, that I was close with. I could help them more easy. And I just fell away from all of that just because of, like I said, self-doubt and not having persistence. And that caused no self-control. It caused emotional issues. It caused all kinds of different things, like I said, that I could have avoided. I know I could have avoided things, but I didn't listen. So that's why I'm saying, like, earlier in this video when I was saying Source has issues, it does. It has issues, it comes with issues, and everybody has issues. Don't get me wrong, everybody does. But this is just a reminder to those of you who, are, practicing your metaphysical abilities. Y'all have followed Jay for years and his videos and everything, and just ready and waiting for him to go home, for things to get started and kick up. Well, I know things are getting cranked up crazy on the other side. Like, we are so close for things to be changing, and things have already started changing, in a very dramatic way. Like, when today's date is 11/16 at 5:50 p.m. 2024, and Donald Trump's getting back into the White House and everything. And in all honesty, him winning that election was a huge turning point for me personally. I don't know what happened. I don't know what it was, but it was literally like, after, I'm sure some of you guys have probably experienced this, those of you who are kind of awake and, already using your abilities and everything else. Whenever everything happened the way it did and he got elected, and he's now going to be our president in 2025 rather. Like, it was almost like a call to arms. Like, it was like a reminder of, hey, like, you got things that are going to be happening and going on, and I know for a fact, before I ever even got into this body of Gavin Tedder, who I am inside, I know I wanted to help, and I know that I, had promised that I was going to help and do everything I could to try and help out with this whole situation. And I completely fell away from that promise. But I'm definitely, I would say, back on track now. Try and give, there it is. There's that pretty little mug. No, I'm just kidding. I know I ain't that pretty. I'm fucking balding and, bad skin from, just all kinds of, shit going on, bad water and everything else. But that aside, like, I know that I've gained this understanding that I did not have before. And I've quit smoking. And I know I'm maybe eventually someday, maybe I'll smoke every once in a while or something like that, but I know for a fact I'm not going to touch it anytime soon, and I'm never going to let myself fall into those habits the way I did, the way I allowed them to get. That's not going to happen ever. Not with me. I'm not going to allow that. And I feel like I've gained a very, very strong understanding of what I need to be doing, and where I am now, where I was, where I came from, where I got to, and where I am now. And I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to keep on going and keep on pushing and keep pushing myself to wake up more and more and more and become more of who I am inside. Because I know if I allowed that to slip away from myself, especially a second time, I would greatly, greatly, greatly regret it. All I want to do, I want to take care of my family, number one. Make sure they're taken care of. Number two, I want to help our friends and family that are out in outer space and here. These other beings that aren't, I froze up again, goodness. These other beings that are here to help. They have literally came from so far away, and they are doing so much stuff for us now currently to help us, and they are putting things in place for when the time is right to help us out. And I just want to help them. That is my goals. Become myself, more of myself, take care of my family, and help them take care of us. And I've got some stuff that I'm planning for, hopefully the near future. We'll just have to see, when things happen, and when I can personally do these things. Because I'm just like most of you guys, I would say. I work a job right now currently, still third shift. I've worked third shift for well over a decade straight, basically. And I work 40 plus hours every single week. And if I pretty much now have to, if I want a weekend, I have to use some of the vacation that I have just to get a weekend off. And it's just, things are different. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably experiencing a lot of the exact same things, honestly. But I felt like me coming on here and being super, super transparent about what I've gone through and where I was, where I went, and where I am now. I feel like it's a super important thing for me to share with you guys, and just be super transparent about, everybody goes through issues, and just because somebody is source, that doesn't mean that they're great and everything else. It doesn't. So many issues come with it, and I know I have a responsibility, and that I have to meet. I have to meet my responsibility, and I have to do certain things to meet their responsibility. And I know I have an understanding of myself better now, and I know I'm going to do those things, period. I have to. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I'm just going to make sure I continue to become myself and stay myself. Not be what everybody else is being. People all the time in this life, do things, and they step on people or over people just to get somewhere else. And I'm not going to do those things. I refuse. Absolutely refuse. The thought of that just absolutely makes me sick. And I'm not telling you guys all this because I want sympathy in the comments. So please, if you want to comment on this video, by all means go ahead. But I don't want sympathy. I'm not looking for sympathy with all this. I'm not telling you this because I'm looking for, it's okay, or you're doing so well, all that stuff, or stay strong. I'm not looking for that. I don't want that. So you please feel free to keep that out of the comments on this video. But I've got things that I'm going I'm working a ton. I'm trying to spend more time with my family, spend more quality time with them, and be there and for them, and show them the love that every single one of them deserve. And currently the house, this is a newer house that I've been in for I don't know how many years now. I think it's almost 3 years I've been in this house now, I believe. And literally this house, I'd gotten put in a situation where I thought it was going to be a good buy and everything else, and turns out after we got in here there were all kinds of issues. Like, I ended up having to replace the roof within the first year because the first part of the rainy season we found out like the roof was just leaking like a sieve in multiple areas, and just was already taking so much damage that we didn't know about. And that was kind of a part of the thing with my spirit guides that they could have warned me about and everything if I'd actually been listening to them, if I had actually been paying attention and practicing like I had been, and I was not. They could have been like, hey, look, this isn't a good idea to get this house, look at something else, whatever. But at the time, with the way the market was and the way the economy was and everything, I didn't know that I was going to get a house for a better deal than what I was getting this one. And at that time, I thought I'd had all the inspections done. Like, I thought everything was laid out, everything was good. And I remember denying an inspection, but I thought I was denying a specific type of inspection, not just a general house inspection. But because of just, the excitement, getting balled up and, buying a new house and everything for the first time, also, to point out, first time I ever bought a house is this house. I'd always just rented different places, but I didn't get the proper inspection done, and I overlooked it. And that's something that my spirit guides could have warned me of. I could have got the inspection done, realized that there was all this kind of issues and damage and everything else that is in this house. And I mean, I've worked on this house a ton myself personally. I don't know if I'm sure you can tell in the videos comparatively, like the walls behind me, they're a different color from what they were. I've, had to replace, some of the flooring. I've, tried to set up some of the other rooms. My daughter, completely redid her room, redid mine and my wife's room because it was an absolutely horrible color. Putting so much work and money into a house, and then you have to go through stuff like completely paying out of pocket for a new roof. And if any of you guys have ever dealt with that or know the kind of money that gets dropped on the roof whenever you have to have a new roof put on, I had to do that out of pocket. Horrible. And now currently, even after like spending all that money, I mean, all the pipes under the house, they ended up having a small leak probably at the time that I got it, and then had gotten like worse and worse and worse. It wasn't even a leak, rather. There was some leak, but the leak wasn't bad. What was bad is that they were old cast iron pipes. And if anybody knows anything about old cast iron pipes, they literally on the inside will rust and just close up, just swell. The inside will swell up to where the inner diameter of the pipe will just get there we go, smaller and smaller and smaller. And it got to the point to where all of the drains in the house, they wouldn't drain properly, and they would build back up and everything. And I ended up having to replace all of the piping under the house out of pocket. And now currently I'm fighting with the whole foundations of the house because of all the issues that were just been ignored probably many years prior to me actually getting this house and everything. I thought everything was good. Now I'm seeing like certain areas where the ceiling's literally like cracking, and areas where the floor is bowing, and walls are shifting apart from the joints and everything else. And I'm dealing with that now. And like I said, I'm not saying this because I'm looking for sympathy in the comments. This is just things that happen, and people deal with things. There are people who are way worse off than what I am right now. I get that and I understand that. I'm just saying through everything that is going on, I will be putting out more videos and hopefully be leaning in towards these other things that I'm planning for the future, and hopefully I can get them out. I just don't know when I'm going to actually have the opportunity to, because as of right now, spending time with my family and also taking care of things to keep this house from falling apart, are things I have to do, and I can't just call a crew in to just do all this work and spend all this money on it. I just don't have that kind of money, so I'm doing all the labor literally myself. I just have to. It's just the way it is, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I take care of my family and make sure they have a decent house and a roof over their head, something better than what I grew up in at the very least. Because as a child, my parents, they definitely tried their absolute best, but like many of us, parents, get married young, have a bunch of kids real young, and things happen, and some people, they grow up rough. They grow up in rough houses that are falling apart, infested in rats and spiders, and just literally just getting holes in the floor. And that's not how I want my family to have to live. So I got to spend so much time, at least, focusing on that, and I don't get a whole lot of time off. So I don't know how often I'm going to be getting all these videos out and everything else, but I got things in the works, and I'm going to be trying getting videos out to you guys and updating you guys on things. And I have a couple of videos that are basically kind of tied up in my head right now that I'm going to be putting out in the future when I have time, record them up and get them out to you guys. But like I said, I felt the need to be super transparent to anybody else who might be watching these videos and also having some issues. Like the best advice that I can give you, and I hope you follow through and listen with this. Like I said, stay persistent, practice. Do not lose trust in yourself. Keep your trust. Stay persistent. Okay? You guys do those things, you will get better and better and better and better and become more of yourself, and life will feel more full for yourself. Like I said, I remember how it was whenever I was doing those things and I was in a great place, and how happy I was, not just with even though going through struggles, I was still very happy with myself in my life. And I've went downhill and went through a lot of shit, and there's a lot of shit that could have been avoided if I had just continued to do what I did, but I didn't. Like I said, I know everybody's got issues, but you owe it to yourself to become yourself. And the people around you, if you really love the people around you and you want to give them the best version of you, you will continue to try and become yourself. Practice. Use your abilities. And whenever our friends finally are able to show up, they're ready to help, and they want to help us so much, and I want to help them. I want to help them help us. That's literally one of the biggest things that's really weighs heavy on me for whatever reason. But like I said, I just want to be transparent with you guys. And it's not necessarily, I'm not trying to put this video out because, like I said, I don't think necessarily down on myself anymore. I did, but I don't anymore. And I don't necessarily think I'm highly of myself. Like, I don't think I'm any better than anybody else. I'm not trying to portray that in this, but I just wanted to share these things. That way, hopefully, you guys don't go through it as bad as what I did. And if you are going through something, hopefully you can make that turnaround, that 180, and start going back the direction you need to. Or if you'd never been going in that proper direction, maybe you can make that that 90-degree turn and start going the direction that you need to. That's what I hope for this video is, if anything, hopefully this helps other people out. But I hope to be talking to you guys again. Agoon. I hope to be talking to you guys again soon. Hopefully real soon. I don't know, like I said, when I'm going to have the time to be getting these other couple videos out that I got in my head. But hopefully it'll be not too long. I'll talk to you guys again soon. I really appreciate, anybody who does take the time to watch these videos. I don't make money off of them or anything like that. It's such a small viewing of these videos or whatever. But I want to hopefully help you guys out, any way I can. Because I'm still working on myself, and we're all kind of waiting. We just gotta wait, and it's coming. A lot of people may have lost hope, but that's one thing that I actually do have a lot of. I have a lot of hope in my hope frequencies in me, and I can't wait. I can't wait for things to get better, because they're going to real soon, and they already are. Internally in our country, starting to get way better. All these things that do cause us stress and cause issues for our family, and everything else like that. A lot of these things are going to be falling away very, very soon, and it's going to be great for everybody. I can't wait. And like I said, can't wait to talk to you guys again. Okay. But I know this is a long video. If you're, have stayed to this point, I appreciate it. Thanks for, just listening to what I said, my words and everything. Because it's, a whole over an hour of this. But please, guys, y'all just have a great day. Have a great day, a great night. I got some friends I got to go hang out with that I haven't seen in probably like 10 months. So I want to go spend some time with them. But y'all just take care and just relax. Okay? Relax. Practice your abilities. Become more of yourself. I'll see y'all next time.